Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Actors Area. I'm your host, Sean Robert Grant. Happy New Year to you. Hopefully, you've had a wonderful start to the new year. Coming into day 6 of 2020, I get a feeling, knowing that it's going to be a fantastic year. And the great thing about it is that you are the person or the entity that decides whether or not it's going to be a great year or not. Nothing outside of yourself can decide that for you except how you feel within. Okay? A little bit of inspiration for you this morning. So yes, now we're getting into a new year coming up. And so the new year is interesting because I feel like it's a great time to distinguish what you really desire, okay? What you really feel is important to you. Now, how do we do this? And I'm going to show you today, because this is what's tied into what you've observed in the title and in the description, being that shift that can free up your success. So, in all truth and honesty, you really have to break down what it is that you're giving your energy to, because energy is the most powerful force in the universe. It's the most powerful force for you as an actor. And when directed correctly, it can open doors where, as Joseph Campbell says, there were once walls, right? And so how do we get to this point? And it's simple. It's simple. Each and every year, as an actor and actress, you have to gauge yourself, right? To see where you are. And guess what? It is completely okay if you reach a point in your career where you feel like you've lost your feeling for it. You lost your desire. You're not as in love anymore as you were before. And here's why. I want to get into this just a little bit before I move on. The reason why this is so good, it's like any relationship where you can be in a place where you spend so much time with somebody and it's terrific, but then all of a sudden you kind of get used to them being there, and then all of a sudden, it can potentially dull the feeling of that newness, that desire. But then you take that person out of the equation, and then all of a sudden every bit of that desire comes back. So the reason why this is so important to acting is because acting is a lot like that relationship sometimes, especially when you've been at it for a long period of time. So I've been acting for 13 years, and I've had separation, not always divorce, but, issues. I hate you. I love you. I want to see if we can work. Let's try something creative. Let's go to counseling, go to a coach to see what it is that we're doing wrong and what we might not be doing right. And so it's kind of that type of relationship with this craft. And it's one of those things that if the love is there, never give up on it completely. Okay? And I say that because what tends to happen is that you find yourself in a position where you are, how do I put it? Where you're the feeling, the desire for it is greater than it was before you left it. Okay? And it's just as simple as taking a hiatus. So at the end of last year, I just took some time away. I had auditioned for so many different, projects, and I really felt good about my acting, but I noticed that with everything going on in my life, that I just didn't have the energy or feeling to devote to acting completely as I did in the past. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take the last 4 months. I'm just going to step away. And I stepped away from it. And I took care of what I need to take care of in life. And I have a renewed sense of feeling and love for the craft of acting now. And I'm excited to get back in because that's what determines, right? That's what determines whether or not you're going to succeed or whether you're going to struggle. So with that being said, let's get into that shift that's in the title, okay? That basically that shift that allows you to succeed, or that shift or that non-shift that allows you to basically stay where you are, okay? So here's the thing. And I talked a bit about this on my other podcast, other show, the Ultimate Manifestation Podcast, and it goes hand in hand here. One of the number one reasons actors and actors don't succeed is because the feeling to do the craft itself is not authentic, right? It's muddled with some have-tos in there, okay? So let's say you have a lot of, not necessarily on the surface, but in the subconscious where you have a lot of, I have to do this because I have to get approval. I have to do this because I want people to love me. I have to do this. That's kind of what you find with a lot of people that get into acting, because I did the same thing, right? So what you have to do is work through those things and then still see if your love for that performing is still there. Because once again, in my own experience, I got into acting because I wanted approval. I got into acting because I wanted the love of my family members. I got into acting because I wanted to be recognized by people I didn't know. And would you know, I had all of that. I got all of that. My dream came true of, like, two of my dreams came true, actually. Somebody wrote an article about how good my acting was in one of the most terrible movies I've ever done in my life. And I won an award for a movie I did a couple years ago. And it was a nomination. It wasn't necessarily an award, but to be nominated amongst 650 different films was really amazing. But the truth of the matter is, all of that happened, and there wasn't this original feeling of, man, this is so amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. There was something that, like, why does this feel like it's more for other people than it is for me? Okay? And you can go some ways. Like, a lot of people succeed that way. The only problem is if you get too far into it and you realize, well, shit, I'm doing this for everybody else, but not for myself, then you kind of start to have a breakdown. So it's better to have it earlier, right? So, anywho, I don't want to get too sidetracked here. I finally got to this place of, I worked through my stuff, okay? I worked through my stuff. I worked through my approval, my rejection complex, and all these being unloved. I learned to love myself unconditionally, and, basically just embrace my self-worth. And I realized, you know what? I still love to act. Not only do I love to act, I love to write about stuff that can help other actors. I love to do podcasts that's going to help other actors. So let me get back into this. And through that evolution, me as a teacher, writer, and coach was born to this craft, which helps me so much more as a performer and allows me to help other people. What else happened? Well, I didn't need to do acting anymore to be famous, because I had been at that point where, sometimes being famous for doing a film that everybody sees, and there are like a couple of famous people in it, and people start to know you, and they start to send you messages on Facebook, they send you messages on Twitter, they send you, these random emails. I started writing for Backstage, and all of a sudden I'm getting like, so all this it's just hoopla, right? It doesn't really do much. It feels good in the moment, but it's not something that, it's not something that sustains over a long period of time, right? So once I was able to get past, I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be wealthy from this because, I have I'm well provided for by the universe, and God in me loves me so much, and it always gives me blessings to take care of what I need to take care of. I don't need to do it for that. Do I still have the feeling of love towards this craft, right? And the answer is yes, right? Because it's still there. Because I'm not doing it to get anything. And that's a part of the shift that we're talking about. You're not doing it to get anything, but you're doing it because the feeling is authentic. Okay, so let me simplify this for you right now. I talked about this once again on my podcast this morning, and it just the shift comes down to want to and have to, right? Reason you may not be getting results as an actor because you may have to check and see if you have a pure feeling of want to. Want to means that regardless of anything else, I'm going to do it and I'm going to enjoy it. And enjoy it is the key word. There's going to be this unbridled joy where the divine essence in me comes out as I do it, right? That's want to. Have to is like, I have to go to school. I have to eat my vegetables. I have to brush my teeth. I have to hang out with this person. So in actuality, and have to, you'd rather be somewhere else as opposed to where you are while doing that thing. And see, oftentimes it can be masked because we all have emotional issues that we need to work through. And the sooner you do that, the easier it is to tell if you're authentically feeling like this is something you want to do, or you're just doing it because there is a hidden motive. And once you discover your motives for everything and get rid of like emotional turmoil within you from the past, you'll begin to see what's done authentically and what's done as a motive. And the difference is, if you've ever desired anything, think about anything you've ever desired, like truly desired. Like a great example would be you've waited so long to eat and you're just so hungry. You're so hungry, you just don't know what you're going to do, but you're really hungry and you just can't take it anymore. So that desire to eat is just burning inside of you, right? Now, it's not always going to be that way. But you will be able, if you can tap into that, you can tap into what you feel from a desire standpoint. So for me, one thing I love doing every day is going to, there's this creek by my house, and it gives me, spiritual enlightenment. It gives me the opportunity to connect to the divine, and I desire to do it every day. And here's how I know. Regardless of what's happening in my day, work, wife, play, events, I always find a way to go to the creek, no matter what it is. If I'm on vacation, I went and saw my in-laws late last year, or towards the end of the year last year, and they have a basically one of the Great Lakes they live by Lake Huron, and it basically is similar to the setup I have with the creek at my house. So what I do, I make sure I go to the lake every single day. And you know why? It's that desire inside of me that has to do this. No matter what, I have to do this. Not having to do it as in somebody forcing me, but having to do it as in I want to do it is a better term for it. I want to do this. I want to be here. I'm not thinking about being anywhere else. I want to be here. Telltale sign right here. If you're thinking about being somewhere else while you're doing something you supposedly feel like you want to do, then you're not authentically doing that thing, right? You're not authentically doing that thing. And this, my dears, is the shift that will take off, if not your acting career, whatever career comes of you figuring out what you really want to do. A good friend of ours the other day came by to see, we got a new cat, which is amazing. And she said something so fantastic. She said, I love my job. Like, I love waking up. I look forward to waking up every day so I can go to my job and do it. And I just love it. I'm like, well, you're like 1% of the population, like nobody says that, but it's so refreshing to hear that you get excited to get out of bed, to go to your job. And so that's sort of how it should be, not just with acting, but with anything that you do. And then you have to decide, if it's not there, maybe there's something else for me, right? Maybe I've started out as an actor, but maybe it's time for me to be a director. Maybe I want to be a teacher. Maybe I'm geared towards something else that makes me feel so amazing, so full of desire inside of myself. And that is my truth, and that is what I need to follow. So before I let you go, I'm going to give you the shift one more time. The shift that will lead to success as an actor and actress is distinguishing the energy behind, and I mean, you can use this in your life too, right? In everything you do, are you wanting to do it, right? Wanting, like the desire of being so hungry, or are you having to do it? And like I said, if you need examples, think about when you're a kid. I have to eat my vegetables. I have to brush my teeth. As you get older, you begin to want to do these things because you don't want, certain things to happen, but you want to do them because it's good for you, but things like that, having to go to a certain school as opposed to wanting to take a year off and go backpack through Europe. Like, the truth of the matter is, and if you have kids, this is not only good for you, but for them. Allow them to feel into what they want to do as long as it's not detrimental to themselves. And you should take the same advice. Allow yourself to feel in what you really want and then move forward on that, because that is the only way the universe can conspire to help you when it knows that this is something you really want. And that's why some people succeed and some people struggle. Because the desire, the definiteness, the want is not present as much as the have to is. The ulterior motive driven decision to go after it. And in all honesty, you can just look at your life and it will show you. It will show you what you're doing because you have to and what you're doing because you want to. But then all of a sudden, follow more of the want to, and I promise you, you will live the very best life that you possibly can. And you will have the greatest career, if not in acting, in something else. But stay true to your heart, stay true to what is in alignment with Source, and stay true to what brings you the most joy. And you can't go wrong there. Follow the joy. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Take care. We'll talk soon.